Good afternoon and welcome to Invested in Wellness. I'm Jessie Sarafian and welcome to part 2 of our Refresh, Restore, and Cleanse for Summer series. I'm super excited for today's show. Before I introduce our special guests, I want to remind everyone that we are all unique and have different needs and to speak to a doctor or medical practitioner before starting any program. So today we're going to be chatting about superfoods and supplements to support a summer cleanse. To help fuel this discussion, we are joined by April Cockshutt. She's a clinical herbalist and certified nutritional practitioner. April, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Jessie. It's so great to be back for show number 2. We got lots to talk about.
Yes, we sure do. So we welcome back to our show. We are in the thick of summer now. And in part 1, we chatted about nutrition and movement and easing into a detox so our body can thrive this summer. So what were some of the key takeaways?
Yeah, oh my goodness, there were so many key takeaways. It's so important, after a long winter and, a long season where a lot of time was spent inside to get in tune with our bodies. So I think that was the number one key takeaway I often say it on our shows is to really just take some time, sit with your body. Our body is so smart. It's such a fine-tuned machine. It really tells us what we need. So in regards to cleanses and detoxes, they can be so overwhelming with the buzz around what the perfect detox is or what detoxes work for some people. Don't make it too scary. Listen to your body, take some time to understand moving into summer, what do I need? Maybe that's I need to focus on my sleep, right? And we do kind of like a sleep detox, right? We really focus on key patterns around sleep. That was something we introduced. Maybe that's something about, hey, I'm feeling really fatigued. I need to get more energy from the food or supplementation. So again, really get in tune with your body. And a good key takeaway to start with, hydration, right? Moving into summer months, it's getting hotter. We're sweating more. The majority of our body is made up of water. Okay. That allows us to cleanse a lot of those toxins out of our body. So, a really easy thing to start with and a really good key takeaway is start understanding how much water you drink. Okay. Measure it. Aim for about 1.5 to 2 liters of water daily, sipped throughout the day, not chugged all at once, sipped. Remember, we're a plant. So if we pour a big bucket of water onto that plant, it's just going to drain out. Okay. So sipping water throughout the day, being in tune with our body, and sleep. I would say those are the key takeaways.
I love that. That's so important. And for those of you that have any questions for April throughout the show, you can type it in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen and we'll be sure to get your questions to April and address them on the next show. So in part 1, we had quite a few questions on supplements and superfoods. So this is great timing. So we all know that we are what we eat and the importance of a well-balanced diet. So what is a superfood to start off?
Oh, great question. And again, just like detoxes and cleanses, there's such a buzz around this word superfood. Let me tell you, a superfood is really any food that provides a wealth of nutrients, both macro and micro, to your body to help it detox, cleanse, recharge, energize, right? So some superfoods out there, that we've heard of that have been very buzzy. We've heard of things like bee pollen or ashwagandha, which is a really good adrenal herb. But guys, when we're talking about today, I'm going to talk about really great superfoods that we can find in the grocery store that are not, a lot of money, going to break our budget, but things that you can actually incorporate into your everyday diet, like parsley, something that's so great for cleansing your liver that you can get and you can incorporate actually into your daily and weekly nutritional intake.
Amazing. And when it comes to our intake of these superfoods, does it vary per season?
Yeah, that is a great question. I'm a firm believer, let's eat with the seasons, right? Mother Nature put certain foods, on this planet at times of the year that we need them, right? So I find in the summertime, why not take advantage of all the great dark leafy greens and all that great produce that Mother Nature gives to us that grows in abundance, that's local. The more local it is, the less time it's spent on a truck or a ship traveling, and the more fresher, the higher amounts of vitamin C, that really great detoxifying, really great antioxidants that's going to support us, inside and out, to support. So in the summer months, I would increase definitely our intake of fruits and vegetables, especially local, I think are so, so important. In the winter months, when we go into kind of that hibernation a bit, we're looking at things that are more a bit higher in carbs, higher in protein. We'll go to those root vegetables like the beets and the squash, right? More fiber, cleansing our digestion with that type of soluble fiber. So going through the seasons is very important. Same with supplementation, right? In the summer, we're out in the sun, we're getting tons of vitamin D naturally. Whereas in the fall, we got to get more of those supplements like the vitamin C or the vitamin D that we're not getting from the sun or dark leafy greens. We got to start supplementing them because we're not getting them from the food we eat. So very interesting to also acknowledge the changes of seasons and the changes of our intake for our supplementation and nutritional intake.
That's very interesting. So speaking about the supplements, what are the most effective ones at detoxifying the body? You mentioned, vitamin C, vitamin D. Are there any other specific ones that that are the most effective?
Yeah, I definitely would say vitamin C is great. Vitamin C is so great for everything, also for immune system health. Dark leafy greens, our fruits, our oranges, right? Our apples, all those foods are so high in vitamin C. It's a great nutrient to cleanse our liver. We can supplement, but it's also great, I would say, if you can get your nutrients, your micronutrients, your minerals, your vitamins from food before we supplement, that's where I would focus. Okay. So really incorporating all those great whole foods, right? When we have this word whole foods, that means the food has not been broken down, right? We're having the parsley, we're having the garlic, it's in whole food format, right? It's not processed. That's where we want to get the majority of our nutrients from. When we can't have that whole foods diet, that's where the supplements come in. Okay. So again, vitamin C, great supplement for a detox. When we also are talking about our detox and cleanse, we're talking a lot about re-energizing the body. So a good B complex, which is really supportive to our mitochondria, which is really supportive in creating our energy. A B complex is something that I would say in a cleanse, if you're looking for increased energy, is really great. Okay, a lot of people think B12. B12 is great for blood building, but the key ones I would say more are B5 and B6, which are so important for supporting chronic stress, for supporting energy, for supporting detox, rejuvenating energy is really important. Now, B vitamins, majority come from animal meats. And there are some in eggs as well. So again, if you're a vegetarian or vegan, supplementing a vitamin B, sorry, I find is very important, and something we can take. Okay. Last but not least, a really great supplement that I find is very useful, especially for a cleanse or a detox, apple cider vinegar. Okay. So apple cider vinegar is something readily available. You can add to salad dressings, you can add to meals, you can add it to your morning water to really support a cleanse after you sleep, when you detox when you sleep. We went over that last show. Apple cider vinegar really works well into the liver, clearing it from a lot of that garbage that sits in there, toxins. It's also really great for supporting our stomach acids, right? So that's how we break down our foods. That's how we move food through our body. So something like apple cider vinegar is going to be so great for cleansing and detoxifying that gut, that digestive tract. It supports increased stomach acid so we can digest our food better. It's going to support bile flow so we can clean out our intestines. And it's also going to support that liver detox. The best way of taking apple cider vinegar is actually taking a teaspoon 15 minutes before meals. It sounds awful, but it's great. There's this new kind of trend of those apple cider vinegar gummies out there. Save your money, just get a bottle of raw, unpasteurized apple cider vinegar, take a teaspoon of that, and oh my gosh, that goes a long way.
Yeah, that's interesting that that you're speaking about apple cider vinegar because my parents have been taking it for years in the morning before breakfast. So I know about that. They add it into the water, so that's definitely something I will incorporate myself. I had a question regarding about the whole foods. So where do nuts and seeds factor into that?
Great question. Nuts and seeds, oh my goodness, something we should eat daily. we need, not should, we need to eat daily. They're so, so important. Nuts and seeds, making sure that they're raw. When we, not, nuts and seeds have this very beautiful fat to them, right? It's the, the omega-3, 6, 9 fats that support our anti-inflammatory mechanisms that are so healthy for our bodies. When we roast them, though, that fat gets denatured and kind of turns into this like saturated fat, which isn't as supportive. So making sure our nuts are raw, I definitely want to make that kind of a goal moving forward. And nuts and seeds, right? They have protein in them, right? So keep our blood sugar stable, fuel our bodies, our muscles. They have those healthy fats, support our immune system, support our energy levels, our hormonal balance, and they're so full of fiber. Fiber is what attaches to all those toxins and cholesterol and just bad things in our body and helps eliminate them through our system. So having a handful of nuts, right, and 9 to 12 all raw almonds, or having seeds, 2 tablespoons of seeds daily, is highly recommended. Now, in this day and age, nuts are expensive. There's lots of nut allergies out there. So I always recommend to clients, if you can add a superfood into your diet, add 2 tablespoons of raw seeds. The best for detox, I would say, would be flax seeds. Don't buy them pre-ground, right? Buy them in whole food format, whole seed format. Blend them fresh and keep them in your freezer to, again, keep all their great properties. Is something I would highly recommend to add into your diet daily. Okay. Think what a seed is. A seed is a mini plant, right? So a seed flourishes into this huge plant full of nutrients, right? So think how much micro and macro nutrients and energy and support that tiny little seed has in it. Okay. So I'm really happy you brought that up because that's definitely a superfood I'd recommend.
That's great. Yeah, I add seeds to my morning breakfast with my yogurt and especially on salads. I just love that extra crunch. So going back to the supplements, so there's a wide range out there, like price range and brands. So where does one start? Because it's so overwhelming.
That is such a great question and something I talk to clients, at every session because it's so important to understand that you are what you eat and absorb, right? So a lot of supplements out there, they're a lot cheaper. However, the form they come in may not be the most bioavailable. So that means, does our body ingest it and actually absorb it, or does our body see it and is like, I don't really know what that is, let's just pass it through us, right? So making sure you talk to a nutritionist or a naturopath or your doctor about what the most bioavailable, most absorbable forms is really important. Okay, so something like magnesium, we've talked about magnesium on the show. Magnesium is also known as the stress mineral. So I love the bisglycinate format. Okay, so that glycinate is very nice for the nervous system. It's easy to absorb, but then when you think of magnesium, there's also oxide, there's citrate, there's so many different forms. So understanding the right form for your body is important. Okay. Same thing with vitamin D. You want to make sure that your vitamin D is a D3 and it's either in a liquid or a liquid gel. It's fat soluble, so it needs to be combined with fat to absorb. Okay. So going into, again, a naturopath, a nutritionist, going into a health food store and actually taking the time to talk with someone for supplements, it's important. Okay, so I definitely recommend that. Paying a little more. There's some really great brands that I partnered with because sometimes, for example, a B complex, I'm going to pay a bit more for a good B complex, whereas something like zinc, it doesn't really matter. I can buy the cheapest format because they're all kind of the same. So again, you can kind of pick and choose, but making sure you're getting a good brand versus just the cheapest is important.
Got it. And I know there's various forms out there, like you mentioned, like there's capsules, there's gels, there's tablets, and the difference between consuming raw versus powder. What are your suggestions there, and what do you recommend?
For sure. First off, if you can get the supplement in whole food format, whether that be like, for example, turmeric, right? A lot of people buy curcumin as a supplement. They pay a lot more money for it, but actually having it in its whole food form, actually in the full root, is the best way. It's the most potent way. Okay, so that's number one, the whole food format. B, liquid. So if you're getting, say, a vitamin D or a fish oil, which are both really important that I take daily, core nutrients, I would take them in liquid. Liquid is the easiest for your gut. It doesn't have a capsule or a tablet to break down. It's the most available, right? Some people hate the taste. They're like, April, I'm not going to do that. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. Then I go over to the capsule version. Okay. So the capsule version, I would say, is, sometimes hard for people. They're a bit bigger. I'd always recommend taking one at a time, you know, and they're great. What I would not recommend is taking a time release. Time release usually means that the capsule is a bit thicker, and oftentimes the time release, it actually doesn't get released by the time it gets pushed through our digestive system. So it's not always the most bioavailable format. You're just paying more. So I haven't found the best results with time release. I instead, for example, like something like a vitamin C or a vitamin B, it's a complex. All those nutrients that are water soluble, if you are deficient in them or need more of them, I'd recommend spacing the supplementation out. So instead of taking 2 in the morning, I would take 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon so that our body absorbs the right amount, right? If we take 2 in the morning and it's water soluble, right? Vitamin B, vitamin C, etc., we're just going to pee out those vitamins, right? So I don't know, Jessie, have you ever taken a vitamin B and your urine's like electric yellow?
Yes. Yes.
Right? So that's your
Yeah.
body only absorbing so much. That's why we want to space it out so we can absorb as much as we can, rather than taking all the supplements at once.
Got it. So someone who's just starting off, what are like your 3 non-negotiable supplements that you would recommend and why?
Yeah, that's a great question. So detox aside, just kind of like every day, I would recommend magnesium. It's our stress mineral. We can't avoid stress, so I definitely would recommend magnesium. Best time to take that, I find, is before bed. The other thing I'd highly recommend is a fish oil. Okay, again, I take that in a liquid form. Very important. It's really great for our immune system, for our hormonal balance, for inflammation, etc. We don't get enough of those healthy fats in our diet, so I'd highly recommend that. And also a vitamin D3. This is something I'd always recommend. The amount of studies over COVID, especially that came out around what vitamin D3 does for us is so important. In the summer months, everyone's like, oh, we can stop taking it, right? And yeah, we do get our sun, but it is important to understand that there is a chemical process on our skin that creates that vitamin D3 for it to be absorbable. Okay, so we don't always want to be washing our skin as soon as we go outside. We want that vitamin D to sit on our skin for at least a couple hours before we wash it off. So that saying wash our its and bits, it makes sense, especially in the time to absorb that vitamin D3. Okay, it's also important to keep this going through the summer because I do find that with seasonal depression and reduced sunshine, a lot of us start it too late into the fall. So if we keep it going through the summer, I think that's also very important.
Okay, yeah, no, that's good because you wouldn't think it's like, oh, it's summer, I'm outside, I don't need to supplement and take vitamin D. So that's really important that, we still need to continue taking the supplements, even if we're going outside and getting exposed to the sun. Going back to fish oil, I had a question. Is there a specific brand or is there a specific format that you would recommend in the fish oil? I know you mentioned the liquid format, but is there different forms of fish oil?
Yeah, for sure. So there's like krill, there's fish oil, there's a whole bunch of different ones. I would definitely say the liquid version, and you're looking for the EPA DHA, which you'll look on the bottle, and usually I'm looking for about 12.50 per supplementation. Again, I find the liquid is best. Yeah, and then for all the vegans out there or vegetarians, you can do a seed oil. So you could do like a raw flaxseed oil, make sure it's cold pressed and you keep it in the fridge. That would be the best substitute for a vegetarian or a vegan is that raw cold pressed flaxseed oil, which thank you for reminding me is really important because I'm sure there's some viewers on the line that don't do fish oil or a lot, again, people hate the fish oil taste, right? There's lots of
Yeah.
great brands out there. I think they have like a lemon flavor and apple
Yeah.
flavor, so it's a bit more palatable. But again, if that's awful, you can also use that cold pressed flaxseed oil.
Perfect. Thank you. So last question. So how can we ensure that the supplements we choose are safe and effective? And how often do you consider us taking a detox throughout the year?
Yeah, for sure. So in regards to the, supplementation, again, the best thing to do is to talk to a naturopath or nutritionist, your doctor, or, most workers at like the natural food stores are nutritionists. Talk with them, right? Oftentimes when we're reading the bottle, it's going to give us like FDA approved, and it's not often the therapeutic dose, which is actually going to support the body in seeing changes. So sometimes I do find it beneficial to talk to someone to understand what is the right potency for me. What's the right format for me? Right. A lot of times for people who have acid reflux, I'm not going to give them a liquid fish oil because they're going to burp it up and take fish all day. That's not going to be fun. Right. And for other people, they're going to need a lot more vitamin D because they're deficient in their blood test compared to an average person who has a lot of sunlight and their vitamin D levels are within range. Right. So another great way to actually understand what's safe and what you need is getting your blood levels checked. Right. We live in Canada. We're very lucky that we have the opportunity to do so. And if you're feeling off, you're feeling like your body needs a recharge, it needs a cleanse, that's a really great way to check in and set a goal for your cleanse, right? My cholesterol levels are here and I want them to be here. My fasting glucose is here and I really want to understand, what habits do I need to change and support for it to come down here, right? My vitamin D levels, my iron levels are down here. How can I bring them up here, right? So set an intention for your cleanse, for your detox, for your next period of life. Very important. Set those intentions.
Yeah. No, I love that. Setting the intention. That's great. And do you suggest per season we kind of examine and go through, open our fridge, see what we're eating and kind of shift that way?
Yeah, that's a great question. I always say like at least twice a year. I think it's a really great time in the spring coming out of winter to, take some time, sit with our body. How am I feeling? Like do a great reset. Okay. Another great time is fall, right? Again, we're having less time outside or maybe moving less, right? So maybe that means, okay, maybe in the fall we move more into like yoga or we do more walking or how do we keep this movement up? And how do I also keep, a lot of things like those dark leafy greens that were fresh in the summer that we're no longer getting fresh from Ontario or fresh from farmers? How do I incorporate that to my diet? Maybe I need to start, supplementing vitamin C, or maybe that's okay. I really need to be top of mind adding greens and vegetables to my plate. So instead of focusing my meal around the protein, let's focus my meal around plating my veggies first because I know that can be difficult. So again, really setting that intention. But I would say again, twice a year around that spring and fall mark is really supportive of the whole body health.
That's fantastic. Thank you. So great conversation as always, April. And I know in part 3 we'll be chatting about intermittent fasting and mental recharge. Is there anything that you want to, add to the viewers, something to think about before part 3 about fasting and the recharge of the brain?
Yeah. I want viewers to think of how can they make 2 minutes in a day for themselves to just sit and do nothing, just sit with themselves, right? It's amazing how I was actually just with a client and they're like, yeah, I've always wanted to do, morning intention and affirmation, but I don't know why. I can't make those 2 minutes for myself. There's just not enough time in the day. And it's amazing how it's only 2 minutes, but so many of us are just going from one thing to the next that we don't put ourselves first, right? We really need to be priority because if we're not priority, we're not energized, we're not healthy and balanced. How are we able to give the energy we want to our family, to our friends, to our loved ones, to work if we're depleted and we're not at our optimal?
Yes, I completely agree. And that's an amazing takeaway. And I'm looking forward to part 3 with you, April. And stay tuned for the next show. You don't want to miss it. Take care.